According to the Huygens, the synchronization is due to the clocks transferring energy to each other via the coupling bar in the form of mechanical vibrations. The clocks start exactly out of phase. In other words, when the vibrations exerted by one pendulum clock on the coupling bar are exactly cancelled by the vibrations exerted by the other. What are minimal requirements for self-synchronization? Will any pair of pendulums eventually synchronize, or only certain types? And can you synchronize more than two pendulums? With these following questions, let's get into the part 2 of the secret of synchronized pendulums. Hello viewers, welcome to the Explorers. Further progress on what's now known as Huygens synchronization did not occur until 1740, when a John Ellicott, a renowned English clockmaker, submitted a manuscript to the Royal Society. In it, he described an odd phenomena. When two pendulum clocks were placed next to each other so that the pendulums were oscillating in the same plane, one of them always stopped working after about 2 hours, whereas the other kept swinging normally. Ellicott concluded that the two pendulums were influencing each other through the common structure on which they were placed. Little further progress was made on the synchronized pendulums until 1873, when the British astronomer and meteorologist William Ellis, while working at the Royal Observatory in Greenwich in 1873, observed two pendulum clocks that has been placed on a wooden stand. Over 9 consecutive days, he noticed that the times indicated by the clocks were identical, even though one pendulum was swinging to the left and another to the right. The pendulums, in other words, were oscillating at the same frequency but in opposite directions, exactly as in Huygens' experiment. Now let's see about the remaining mysteries. According to Huygens, the synchronization is due to the clocks transferring energy to each other via the coupling bar in the form of mechanical vibrations. The clocks start moving exactly out of phase. In the other words, when the vibrations exerted by one pendulum clock on the coupling bar are exactly cancelled by the vibrations exerted by the other. What are minimal requirements for self-synchronization? Will any pair of pendulum clocks eventually synchronize, or only certain types? And can you synchronize more than two pendulums? In 2002, Georgia Tech in the US designed and built a simplified version of Huygens' experiment using mechanical metronomes instead of pendulum clocks. They concluded that the sympathy observed by the Huygens in his clocks is largely influenced by the coupling strength, which is the ratio of total mass of the pendulums to the total mass of the coupling bar from which the clocks are hanging. A large ratio indicates a strong interaction between the pendulums, whereas a small ratio corresponds to a weaker interaction. Furthermore, for a small ratio, the pendulums synchronize with the opposite phase, where a large ratio pendulums exhibit a beating death phenomena, in which one pendulum keeps oscillating whereas the other comes to a stop, as the Ellicott has observed. Recently, we have reproduced a modern version of Huygens' experiment using two monumental pendulum clocks. Using this equipment, we noticed that after about 30 minutes, the pendulums were both oscillating in same direction and at the same frequency. Using this equipment, we have confirmed the secret behind the onset of synchronization, first observed by the Huygens all those years ago. As he suspected, it is due to the transmission of vibrations and thus energy through the wooden structure on which the clocks were attached. The wooden table, in the other words, is the channel by which the pendulums can communicate with each other and eventually decide a common rhythm. Although our modern clocks sat on a pine table, whereas Huygens' devices hung from a bar, both depend on the elastic deformation of a piece of wood. Coupled pendulums can do other strange things too, including quenching, where both clocks stops working, undergoing seemingly chaotic motion, the clocks oscillate irregularly, moving in an unsynchronized way, and more. So, do we now completely understand Huygens synchronization? In short, no. Most mathematical models, including our own, aren't complete in that they don't consider all deformations experienced by the wooden support on the clocks were hanging. Studies of Huygens clocks could also shed light on the many similar synchronization efforts in the living organisms. The human body, for example, has many different kinds of oscillating rhythms, including respiration, heartbeat, neuronal activity, and blood perfusion. And when these synchronize with each other, very little energy is used. That's good, but synchronization can also be damaging or dangerous. The generation of epileptic seizures, for example, is closely linked to the abnormal synchronization of millions of neurons. So here we comes to the end of the video, and that's the complete information about Huygens pendulums. I hope you would definitely like the video, and thanks for watching.